everyone, and welcome back to Western Flavors. Before we begin, let's recap the dramatic and heartwarming events of Chapter 18. We saw Ty and Amy fall back into their old rhythm as partners, but the story took a dramatic turn when a storm rolled in, and Amy had a bad fall from the loft ladder, severely spraining her ankle. Ty's heroic and tender care for her in that moment, scooping her up and carrying her home through the storm, reignited the deep spark between them. The story ended on a powerful, quiet cliffhanger with an injured Amy in their bedroom, asking a stunned Ty to stay. If you missed that incredible four-part story, the full playlist is linked for you in the description below. Now today, the focus shifts to the younger generation as a familiar face returns to the ranch and notices that someone at Heartland is still quietly struggling. Let's get into the story. In the week following Amy's accident and her heartfelt plea for Ty to stay, a genuine, hard-won peace had settled over the Heartland ranch. The change was remarkable. The tense, silent meals were replaced with easy conversation. The hallways that had once echoed with unspoken grief were now filled with the sound of Lindy's happy chatter. Ty and Amy, having finally found their way back to each other, were a quiet, constant presence for one another, their relationship a tender, budding thing that was slowly, carefully, being nurtured back to life. To an outside observer, it looked as though the family had finally, completely healed. But Georgie Fleming Morris was not an outside observer. She had arrived from Calgary for a weekend visit, and while she was overjoyed to see the genuine smiles on Amy's and Ty's faces, her sharp, empathetic eyes noticed something the others had missed. She saw the way Lindy, despite the happy new atmosphere, had become a quiet, watchful shadow. The bubbly, carefree girl from her last visit was gone, replaced by a child who was more reserved, her eyes holding a thoughtful, almost worried expression that was too old for her 8 years. Lindy was the keeper of the family's recent trauma, a small, silent witness who hadn't yet been given a chance to process the emotional earthquake that had reshaped her world. Georgie's concern was confirmed when she saw Lindy out in the small paddock with her pony, Sugarfoot. It was supposed to be playtime, a simple exercise in bonding, but from the porch, Georgie could see the frustration building. Lindy was trying to get Sugarfoot to come to her from the other side of the paddock, but the pony would only take a few steps before stopping, its attention wandering. "Come on, Sugarfoot. Come here, please." Her small voice was a mixture of a command and a plea, but it was thin, lacking the confident energy the pony was used to. The animal just flicked its ears and went back to nibbling at a patch of clover. After another failed attempt, Lindy's shoulders slumped. She stomped her foot in frustration, her face crumbling as hot, angry tears began to fall. Georgie's heart ached with a sudden, powerful empathy. She knew that look. She knew that feeling. It was the impotent rage of a child who felt completely out of control, a child projecting all of her own internal chaos onto the one creature she thought she could command. She remembered her own early days at Heartland, her own frustrated tears, her own battles with a horse that was simply mirroring back her own fear and anger.
"He's not listening today, huh?"
Her voice was calm and gentle. Lindy looked up, quickly wiping her tears with the back of her hand, embarrassed at being seen. "He's being bad. He won't do what I say."
I used to have days like that with Phoenix all the time. Days where it felt like he didn't even speak the same language as me. Want to try a new game? It's something your mom taught me a long, long time ago.
Lindy looked at her, a flicker of curiosity in her tear-filled eyes. She gave a small, hesitant nod. Georgie unclipped the lead rope from Sugarfoot's halter and opened the gate, leading the pony into the larger, empty round pen.
Okay, the rules of this game are simple. No ropes, no halters, just you and him. The goal is to get him to want to be with you, not to make him come to you. There's a big difference.
She stood with Lindy in the center of the pen as Sugarfoot began to wander the perimeter.
Horses are like mirrors, Lindy. They show us what we're feeling on the inside, even when we try to hide it. Right now, you're feeling all tight and frustrated, and he feels that. See how he's staying as far away as he can? He's mirroring your desire to be alone with your big feelings.
Lindy looked at the pony, then back at Georgie, her expression thoughtful.
The first step is to get him to move. I want you to look at his hip, focus all your energy there, and make your own body big and confident. You're not chasing him, you're just asking him to move his feet. Show me.
Lindy, following Georgie's instructions, stood up straighter, puffed out her chest, and stared at Sugarfoot's hip. The pony, sensing the shift in her energy, flicked an ear back at her and began to trot lazily along the fence.
Good. Now, The most important part, to get him to come to you, you have to do the opposite. You have to make yourself small and quiet and inviting. You have to become the most peaceful place in the whole pen.
She guided Lindy, showing her how to turn her body slightly away, how to lower her gaze, how to let all the tension out of her shoulders and take a slow, deep breath.
Now, you just wait. You invite him in, but you let him make the choice.
They stood there for a long, silent minute. Lindy was breathing slowly, her small body relaxed, her focus entirely on being a calm, safe space. Sugarfoot, sensing the change, stopped his trotting. He turned and looked at her, his dark eyes curious. He took one hesitant step towards the center, then another. He walked slowly, cautiously, right up to Lindy and finally gently nudged her outstretched hand with his soft muzzle. A brilliant, triumphant smile lit up Lindy's face. It was the first, genuine, unburdened smile Georgie had seen from her all weekend. "He came to me," she whispered, her voice full of awe.
Yeah, he did. Because you showed him you were a safe place to be.
Georgie led her over to a hay bale just outside the pen, leaving Sugarfoot to graze peacefully. She sat down beside her niece, knowing the real lesson was about to begin.
You know, when I first came here, I felt loud inside all the time. Just like you looked a minute ago. All tight and stompy and sad.
Lindy looked up at her, her eyes wide.
I was scared, and I didn't know where I fit in. And sometimes I was mean to the horses because I had all these big confusing feelings inside, and I didn't know what to do with them. It felt like my whole world had been shaken up, and I didn't know where the safe spots were anymore.
Lindy's expression was one of deep, dawning recognition. "That's what it feels like," she said in a small, quiet voice. "It feels all shaky inside, ever since Daddy came back." The confession, so simple and so honest, hung in the air between them. "I love him, and I'm so happy he's home. But Mommy is different now. She smiles, but sometimes her eyes are sad. And Daddy, he's so quiet, and he looks at me sometimes like he's going to cry. Is it because of me? Am I making them sad?"
Oh, Lindy, no.
Georgie said, pulling her into a tight, fierce hug.
No, honey, of course not. It is not your fault. Not one little bit.
She held her niece, stroking her hair.
Your mom and dad are they're like two people who have to learn a new dance. They know all the old steps, but the music has changed. It's confusing, and it's hard, and it's going to take them a little while to get it right. But it has nothing to do with you. You are the reason they are trying so hard. You are their most beautiful music.
Lindy sniffled, burrowing her face into Georgie's shoulder, a great shuddering sigh of relief passing through her small body. For the first time in weeks, someone had not just seen her, but had understood her. She wasn't a problem to be managed. She was just a kid who needed to be told that it was okay to feel shaky when the whole world was shaking beneath her feet. And in the quiet of the afternoon, with the comforting presence of her pony nearby, she finally felt for the first time in a long time like she was standing on solid ground. Georgie's voice, calm and full of an empathy that asked for nothing in return, was a soothing balm on Lindy's raw, frustrated feelings. The little girl looked up, her tear-streaked face a mixture of embarrassment and a child's desperate need for help. She gave a small, hesitant nod, and it was all the invitation Georgie needed. With a gentle smile, Georgie unclipped the lead rope from Sugarfoot's halter, letting the leather fall to the ground. She opened the paddock gate and, with a soft cluck of her tongue, encouraged the pony to follow them into the large, empty round pen nearby. The circular space, with its high wooden fences, was a perfect, self-contained world, a place where the intricate dance between horse and human could unfold without distraction.
Okay, the rules of this game are simple. No ropes, no halters, no treats, just you and him. The goal isn't to make him do anything. The goal is to get him to want to be with you. There's a big difference.
She stood with a nervous Lindy in the sandy center of the pen as Sugarfoot, enjoying his freedom, began to wander the perimeter, his head low as he investigated interesting smells.
Horses are like mirrors, Lindy. They show us what we're feeling on the inside, even when we try to hide it. Right now, you're feeling all tight and frustrated, and he feels that. See how he's staying as far away as he can? He's not being bad. He's just showing you what you're showing him. He's mirroring your desire to be alone with your big feelings.
Lindy looked at her pony, then back at Georgie, her expression thoughtful as she absorbed the new revolutionary idea. It wasn't that Sugarfoot was disobeying, it was that he was listening too well.
So the first step is to get him to move his feet. It's how you establish that you're the leader in this dance. But you're not going to chase him. That's a predator's game, and it will only make him want to run away more. You're going to be a partner. I want you to look at his hip, right there, and focus all your energy on that spot. Then make your own body big and confident. Stand up tall, put your shoulders back, and just push him with your energy.
Lindy, though a little unsure, did as she was told. She took a deep breath, stood up as tall as her 8-year-old frame would allow, and stared intently at Sugarfoot's hindquarters. The pony, sensing the sudden shift in her energy, flicked an ear back at her, his body tensing slightly. He took a few steps, then stopped, testing her.
Don't stop looking. You're the leader. You decide when the work is done.
Lindy narrowed her eyes, her focus absolute. After another moment, Sugarfoot seemed to sigh, accepting the silent request, and began to trot lazily but obediently along the fence. A small, proud smile touched Lindy's lips.
Good, see? You're talking to him without saying a word. Now keep him going for a few circles. Let him know you're in charge of the dance.
After a few minutes, when the pony was moving in a steady, relaxed rhythm, Georgie moved to the next, most crucial step.
Okay, now for the magic part. To get him to come to you, you have to do the complete opposite. You have to make yourself small, quiet, and inviting. You have to become the most peaceful, most interesting place to be in the whole pen. I want you to turn your body so you're not facing him directly. Look away, down at the ground, and now relax. Let all that tight, frustrated energy go. Let your shoulders drop. Take a big, slow breath, and just wait.
Lindy followed each instruction perfectly, her small body seeming to deflate as she released all her tension. She turned her profile to the trotting pony and lowered her gaze, suddenly looking like a small, quiet statue in the center of the ring.
Now you just wait. You've sent the invitation. It's his choice whether he wants to accept it.
They stood there for a long, silent minute, the only sounds the soft thud of Sugarfoot's hooves in the sand and the distant cry of a hawk circling high above in the vast Alberta sky. Lindy was a pillar of calm, her focus entirely on her own internal state. Sugarfoot completed one full circle, then another. On the third, his pace began to slow. He was watching her, his dark, intelligent eyes full of a new curiosity. He came to a complete stop on the far side of the pen. He turned his head and looked directly at the small, quiet girl in the center. He let out a soft, low nicker, a question. Lindy didn't move. She just breathed. He took one hesitant, testing step towards her, then another. He walked slowly, cautiously, across the sand, his ears pricked forward, his gaze locked on her. He walked right up to her, and finally, gently, he nudged the back of her head with his soft muzzle, a profound gesture of trust and acceptance. A brilliant, triumphant smile lit up Lindy's face. It was the first, genuine, unburdened smile Georgie had seen from her all weekend. The weight that had been pressing down on the little girl seemed to have lifted entirely in that single, magical moment. "He came to me," she whispered, her voice full of an awe so pure it was almost holy. She reached up and gently stroked the pony's face, her touch now full of the quiet confidence she had just discovered in herself.
"Yeah, he did."
Georgie said, her own voice thick with emotion.
"Because you showed him you were a safe place to be. You stopped trying to fight him, and you just invited him in."
The breakthrough was complete. The wall between the girl and her horse had come down, and in doing so, Georgie knew the first crack had just appeared in the wall Lindy had built around her own heart. The moment was pure magic. Lindy stood in the center of the round pen, her small hand resting on Sugarfoot's neck, a look of profound, triumphant awe on her face. The pony, now completely calm and trusting, let out a soft, contented sigh, as if the difficult work of the lesson had relaxed him as well. The frustrating, invisible wall that had stood between the girl and her horse just a short time ago had completely vanished, replaced by a quiet, new understanding. Georgie watched them, a proud, knowing smile on her face. She knew this moment was about so much more than a successful training exercise. It was about a little girl rediscovering her own confidence, her own power to create calm in a world that had felt so chaotic.
"See, you were amazing in there. He just wanted to know he could trust you,"
she said, her voice full of warmth. She swung the gate open, and Lindy, her head held high, walked the now compliant Sugarfoot out of the pen. After putting the pony back in his paddock with a grateful pat, Georgie led her niece over to a stack of hay bales that were resting in a patch of warm afternoon sun.
Let's sit for a minute. You both worked hard.
They sat down side by side on the prickly, sweet-smelling hay, the vast, blue Alberta sky stretching out above them. For a long moment, they just watched the horses in the nearby field, a comfortable, companionable silence settling between them. Georgie, choosing her words carefully, decided to gently nudge the door that the Liberty lesson had just unlocked.
It's funny, isn't it? How a horse can feel everything you're feeling. When you were feeling all tight and stompy inside, he wanted to be as far away as possible, but the second you got all quiet and calm, he couldn't wait to be near you.
Lindy didn't respond, her gaze fixed on her own small, dusty boots as she swung them back and forth. Georgie continued, her voice a soft, gentle murmur.
I think people are a bit like that sometimes too. When we have big, loud, scary feelings inside, we put up invisible walls, and it makes it hard for the people who love us to get close.
She had opened the door. Now she just had to wait to see if Lindy would walk through it. After another long silence, Lindy's small voice, barely a whisper, finally broke the quiet. That's what it feels like. Georgie turned to look at her, giving her her full, undivided attention. Inside me, it feels shaky, all the time, ever since Daddy came back. The confession, so simple and so honest, hung in the air between them, a fragile, precious truth. I'm so happy he's home. I am. I love him. She looked up at Georgie, her eyes wide and swimming with a confusion she couldn't articulate. But everything is different now. It used to be just me and Mommy and Grandpa Jack and Lisa. It was quiet. Now it's different quiet. It's a loud quiet. Georgie nodded, understanding the perfect childish description immediately. Mommy and Daddy, they smile at each other now, and they hold hands. But sometimes they look at each other and it gets really, really quiet. Like the whole world is holding its breath. And Daddy, he's so sad sometimes. When he thinks no one is looking, I see him. His eyes get all empty. And I don't know why he's sad. Her voice dropped even lower, her deepest, most secret fear finally tumbling out. Is it me? Am I not the daughter he wanted when he came back? Am I making them sad? The innocent, heartbreaking question, the question that had clearly been a heavy, crushing weight on her small shoulders for weeks, finally revealed the true source of her turmoil. She believed the tension, the sadness, the entire complicated emotional ecosystem of the family was her fault. Oh, Lindy, no. Georgie said, her voice thick with emotion as she immediately wrapped her arms around the little girl, pulling her into a tight, fierce hug.
No, honey, of course not. It is not your fault. Not one little bit. Do you hear me?
She held her niece, stroking her hair, letting her absorb the absolute certainty of her words.
Of course it feels shaky. The whole ground beneath this family just moved in a way nobody ever expected. It's okay to feel wobbly. We all feel a little wobbly right now.
She pulled back slightly, holding Lindy by the shoulders so she could look her in the eye.
I'm going to tell you a secret. When I first came to live here, I was a little older than you, and I felt shaky and loud inside all the time. I was angry and sad, and I didn't know why, and I used to think that every time your Grandpa Jack looked at me with a frown, or every time your mom got quiet, that it was my fault, that I had done something wrong to make the grown-ups sad.
Lindy's expression was one of deep, dawning recognition.
But I learned something really important. The grown-ups' feelings, they're not about us. They're big and messy, and really, really complicated, and they have been carrying them for a long, long time, way before we even showed up. Your daddy isn't sad because of you. He's sad because he missed 4 years of getting to be with you. He missed birthdays and Christmases and 1,000 little moments, and he's just trying to figure out how to be a dad again. And your mom, she's just trying to figure out how to be a wife again to a man she missed more than anything in the world.
She gently tucked a stray piece of hair behind Lindy's ear.
They're like two people who have to learn a brand new dance together. They know all the old steps, but the music has changed. It's confusing, and it's hard, and it's going to take them a little while to get it right, but it has nothing to do with you. You are the reason they are trying so hard. You are their most beautiful music.
A great shuddering sigh of relief passed through Lindy's small body. the heavy, invisible burden of blame she had been carrying lifted from her shoulders. She wasn't the problem. She was just a kid, living in the middle of a big, complicated, and beautiful love story. She burrowed her face into Georgie's shoulder, her small arms wrapping tightly around her cousin's neck. For the first time in weeks, the shaky feeling inside her finally blessedly stilled. And in the quiet of the afternoon, surrounded by the familiar comfort of the ranch, she felt completely and utterly safe. The hug on the hay bale was a turning point, a quiet, profound moment where a heavy burden was finally set down. The big, scary feelings that had been a tangled, confusing mess inside Lindy's heart had been met not with dismissal but with understanding and a shared history. Georgie's story had been a gift, a map that showed her she wasn't lost in a new and terrifying wilderness, but was simply walking a path that others in her family had walked before. The shaky feeling inside her had finally blessedly stilled. After a few more moments of quiet comfort, Georgie stood up, brushing the stray pieces of hay from her jeans.
Come on. I think you and Sugarfoot have one more ride in you today. Let's go show your mom and dad what a confident rider really looks like.
A brilliant, genuine smile spread across Lindy's face. She jumped up, her earlier sadness completely gone, replaced by the bright, buoyant energy of a child whose world had been set right again. The ride that followed was a beautiful, joyful display of their renewed connection. They rode side by side on their horses, cantering easily across the vast, sun-drenched fields of Heartland. Georgie, a master horsewoman, was a picture of graceful power on her own mount, but her focus was entirely on her young cousin. She called out gentle words of encouragement, her praise for Lindy's good posture and calm hands making the little girl sit up even taller in her saddle. And Lindy, free from the weight of her internal turmoil, was a different rider. Her commands to Sugarfoot were clear, quiet, and confident, and the pony responded in kind, the two of them moving together in a perfect, easy harmony. From the porch of the main house, Ty and Amy watched them, two distant figures moving gracefully across the golden-green landscape. Amy was leaning against the railing, a cup of tea in her hand, a soft, proud smile on her face. Ty came to stand beside her, his arm wrapping instinctively around her shoulders, pulling her close.
Look at them. I haven't seen Lindy ride like that in, well, a long time. She looks so happy, so free.
Georgie's amazing with her. She always has been.
They stood in a comfortable silence for a long time, just watching the two girls, a shared sense of peace settling over them. The sight of their family, whole and happy, was still a new and precious thing, a miracle they were both careful not to take for granted.
I remember when Georgie first got here. She was just a kid, so angry at the world, so full of fire and fear. She wouldn't talk to anyone. She built a wall around herself so high, I didn't think anyone would ever be able to climb it.
But we did.
She said softly, leaning her head against his shoulder.
You, me, Grandpa, we all did. Together.
Yeah, we did.
He looked out at the confident, capable young woman in the distance, a woman who was now performing the same act of gentle, patient healing that had once saved her.
And now, look at her. She's the one doing the healing. She's passing it on. It's incredible.
The conversation about Georgie's journey naturally led them to reflect on their own. The past few weeks had been a lifetime. They had navigated the treacherous terrain of their own grief, of Ty's misplaced guilt, and Amy's profound confusion. They had fought, they had cried, and they had, against all odds, found their way back to a place of quiet, tentative hope. The road ahead was still long. The unresolved issue of the pact Ty had made with Nathan still a necessary, difficult conversation waiting to happen. But for the first time, it felt like a road they would be walking together.
Thank you, Ty.
He looked down at her, his brow furrowed in confusion.
For what?
For coming back. I know it hasn't been easy, for any of us, but I'm so glad you're home.
He leaned down and kissed her, a soft, gentle kiss that was full of a quiet, profound promise.
Me too.
A little while later, Georgie and Lindy rode back to the house, their faces flushed and happy from the ride. Lindy slid off Sugarfoot and, in a burst of pure, uninhibited joy, ran up the porch steps and launched herself into her parents' arms, hugging them both in a fierce, happy embrace. "Did you see me? Me and Sugarfoot were flying."
We saw, sweetheart. You were amazing.
You were a real rider out there, Bug. A true horsewoman. I'm so proud of you.
Georgie watched from the bottom of the steps, a quiet, satisfied smile on her face. She met Amy's gaze over Lindy's head and gave her a small, private nod, a silent message passing between them. See, she's okay. Amy smiled back, her own eyes full of a deep, profound gratitude for the incredible young woman her niece had become. The story of Heartland, she realized in that moment, was a story of healing, a story of a safe harbor in a storm. It was a legacy of love, passed down from her mother, through her and Jack, to Georgie, and now to Lindy. It was a beautiful, unbreakable circle, and it was finally, blessedly, whole once more.